you've talked about from everything from the Knights Templar to Illuminati to Freemasons, like we brought up. Freemasons lasted a long time. Illuminati, as you've talked about in its sort of main form, lasted a short time, but its legend
Never gone away.
never gone away. So maybe like Illuminati is a really interesting one. What was that?
Well, the Illuminati that we know started in 1776. In fact, you can pin it down to a day, the 1st of May, May Day, 1776, in Ingolstadt, Germany, founded by a Professor Adam Weishaupt. It wasn't initially called the Illuminati because that's not really the name of the organization. It was called the Order Perfectibilists. Apparently that changed. Weishaupt would say things like, never let our organization be known under its real name anywhere, which leaves wondering what's its real name. So Illuminati is simply the plural of illuminatus, which means one who is illuminated, one who has seen the light. So in Roman times, Christian converts were Illuminati because they had seen the light. Anyone who thinks, and there have been organizations called Illuminati, that the term is not trademarked, not copyrighted. Anybody who thinks they've seen the light about anything is an Illuminati. So it defines nothing. The symbol of the order was an owl, which interestingly enough is almost identical to the owl, which is the emblem of the Bohemian Club.
Oh boy.
Make of that what you will. I don't make that much out of it because one owl looks pretty much like another owl to me, but compare them, you got to kind of wonder about this just a little thing. Maybe there's some kind of connection there. So, but that supposedly has to do with a connection to the goddess Minerva, and the owl was sacred to her, and the order was the Minerval, the person who was brought in. The number of levels changed over time. There was a higher level to the order that people at the lower level didn't know about. Pretty typical for this. But the thing about Weishaupt was that he was a voluminous correspondent with members with his Illuminati, both during the time that it legally existed in Bavaria and later on. So Weishaupt himself lives, I think, until 1830. Dies in Gotha, which was ruled by an Illuminati prince, and so nothing ever happens to these. No Illuminati is ever put to death or arrested, imprisoned for any period of time. What happens is that their plan, well, what was his plan? His plan was to essentially replace all existing religions and governments in the world with a one world order governed by the Illuminati. So to do this, you had to subvert and destroy all the existing order. And, he argued the purpose for this is to, we wish to make men happy and free, but first we must make them good.
All right.
So that's what the order is all about. Of course, he also said things like, oh man, is there nothing that you won't believe? Okay, so myth would be used in that. Also thought women should be brought into it. He had a rather interesting view about that, was that we should appeal to women, in part because women have a chip on their shoulder, because they're left out of things. So we should appeal to their vanity on that point and offer that in the future, all things will be open and they will be emancipated. So we should hold out the prospect of female emancipation to attract them, because he argued in the short term, there's no better way to influence men than through women. Get women on our side by promising them emancipation, but he made sure we'll never actually deliver it to them, because the future world will be a boys' club. So he talks about these things fairly openly, and this is where you get this idea of some sort of a new world order, which is to be based upon the destruction of the existing order. So there are those who argue that there is a trail of descent that leads from Weishaupt's Illuminati to the Communist Manifesto, and in fact, communism itself. That Marxism was simply a further restating of this idea. And you can draw some sort of connection. I mean, the idea never entirely goes away. The Bavarian government gets a hold of the order's inner texts. So the story is they're delivered to them. I think that Weishaupt gave them to him. I think he engineered the exposure of his order because it gave him publicity. By being exposed in Bavaria, you gained great renown, and they continued to recruit after this. And the Bavarian government actually bans the Illuminati 4 different times. Why? Because apparently the first 3 times didn't work. So the 4th one does. You can notice that it's like papal bans on Freemasonry. And they just go on and on and on because this clearly isn't working.
And you actually highlight the difference between, speaking of publicity, that there's a difference between visibility and transparency. That a secret society could be visible, it could be known about, it could be quite popular, but you could still have a secrecy within it.
You have no idea what's going on inside.
Yeah.
It's like a black box. If I set a black box on this table, we can see that there is a black box. What's in the black box? A cat? Who knows?
In fact, the secrecy might be the very thing that makes it even more popular.
Adam Weishaupt again, there's no more thing convincing than a concealed mystery. Give people a concealed mystery in the thought. So we need to make the order mysterious for that exact reason. Always hold out the possibility that knowledge, special knowledge that no mere mortals have other than you, will have in that way. So he senses a lot of things. The use of vanity and ego to recruit people, to influence both men and women. It's quite sophisticated. And as you might expect from a professor of canon law trained by Jesuits. So I certainly don't think that it ceased when it was banned in Bavaria, because everybody just scatters and goes elsewhere, like Paris. And then you have the French Revolution.
So the idea of the Illuminati, to put it crudely, the branding is a really powerful one. It makes sense that there's a thread connecting it to this day, that a lot of organizations, a lot of secret societies can sort of adopt the branding.
Anybody can call it. You can go out and form a club and call it the Illuminati.
And if you're effective at it, I think it does attract, it's the chicken or the egg, but powerful people tend to have gigantic egos, and people with gigantic egos tend to like the exclusivity of secret societies. And so like it's a gravitational force that pulls powerful people to these societies.
It's exclusive. Only certain. And you also notice something goes back to when we were talking about much earlier, when we were talking about intelligence. Remember, mice? Ego is a means of recruitment and control. That's a great Achilles heel in human beings, the exploitation of ego.
And of course, if we go back to the conversation of intelligence agencies, it would be very efficient and beneficial for intelligence agencies to infiltrate the secret societies, right? Like, because that's where the powerful people are.
Yeah, or the secret societies to infiltrate the intelligence agencies.
Oh boy.